Let's bring this process into the light of day and restore American justice as we know it to be, fair, equal, and for all people." Unquote. There are those who might ask why the ACLU would get involved in such difficult cases with controversial clients. We have chosen to become involved in these cases because Guantanamo has shown us that as far as our government is concerned, the Constitution does not matter. Human rights do not matter, and due process does not matter. And when our constitutional values are most seriously threatened, we believe that we must step up. That's what we do. That's what we're here for. That's what we've always done for generations before us, and what will be expected from us in generations to come. Our founders did as much like John Adams, who defended the British soldiers charged with killing Americans in the Boston Massacre, and said that that case was, quote, "one of the best pieces of service I have ever rendered my country," unquote. Our founders would expect nothing less from 21st century Americans. We are proud, not cowed, to fulfill the dream of a democratic republic governed by the rule of law and not the whim of our leaders. The ACLU has a proud history of standing up for civil liberties, even when it has the potential to be unpopular. During World War II, San Francisco office of the ACLU represented Fred Korematsu, who was charged with the crime of violating curfew orders during Japanese internment. We also defended the rights of free speech and association during the decades when communism provoked as much hatred and fear as Al-Qaeda does today. In 1977, the ACLU defended the right of Nazis to march in Skokie, Illinois, a substantially Jewish community with as many as 1,200 survivors of the Holocaust living there. There was public outcry, but with time, our principled stand was largely understood and vindicated. These cases were clearly controversial as they, like the situation we face today, involved a public that understandably felt injured, threatened, and maybe even a little scared. But it is when the stakes are the highest and when tempers run the hottest that we must work doubly hard to keep our check on our government and prevent it from trading in our values for visceral and political motives. It is during the most challenging situations that our country's values are most intensely tested, and along with them, the ACLU's commitment to its core principles. We are determined, as we have always been, to meet this challenge. We hope that you may respect the work that we do, why we do it, and even join us in reclaiming what America stands for. With the eyes of the world on us, we have no choice but to do this right, to fight for a system that reflects our principles and commitment to due process. The reputation of the United States will be further tarnished throughout the world by implementing a military commission system that does not reflect the fundamental principles of fairness and justice that have been the foundation of our democracy for over 200 years. The ACLU works hard to get it right. I believe we have shown to be the loyal opposition to the failed and unconstitutional policies of this administration. We are nonpartisan and we don't shy away from difficult nor controversial issues. But from a broader perspective, it is my observation that we as a society have failed to teach our children what it means to be an American. What it means to have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights, what it means to have due process of law, what it means to live in a democracy, this republic. If we were to begin teaching our children at an early age the meaning of what it is to be an American and the meaning of civic responsibility, we may wind up with adults who are better equipped to make meaningful contributions to our public and civil discourse, which includes an understanding and appreciation of the framework of our Constitution. If we were to begin teaching our children at an early age what it means to be an American, we may wind up with adults who understand, cherish, and respect our Constitution. We may even wind up with a president who will enthusiastically uphold the promises in his constitutional oath. No one should be above the law, not even the president. How can the United States stand for democracy around the world if we allow our own elected officials to undermine it at home? In our America, the government does not secretly spy on American citizens without a warrant. In our America, the government does not secretly search our homes, offices, personal records without telling us. In our America, government does not enact policies that allow torture with officials hiding behind rank to pass the blame. In our America, the balance of powers should remain balanced. Not too long ago, in a speech at Georgetown University, retired Justice Sandra Day O'Connor warned, quote, "It takes a lot of degeneration before a country falls into dictatorship, but we should avoid these ends by avoiding these beginnings," unquote. Open, honest government with leaders who possess integrity and are willing to be held accountable for their actions is how a successful democracy thrives. No one I know wants to see another terrorist attack. Regrettably, fewer seem to care about the erosion of civil liberties and constitutional rights as a result of terror. It is the mission of the ACLU to forever remind the public and governments that so many people fought and died for our rights to be a free people, which includes the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and warrantless wiretaps and intercepts. It should be the effort of those in charge of keeping America safe to also be mindful of our constitutional framework and what it really means to have and enjoy freedom. Words from our 11th Circuit, our 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, are appropriate reminders. Quote, "We cannot simply suspend or restrict civil liberties until the war on terror is over, because the war on terror is unlikely ever to truly be over. September 11, 2001, already a day of immeasurable tragedy, cannot be the day liberty perished in this country," unquote. If we allow the events of 9/11 to turn our country into a place where the Constitution no longer matters, where a government can deny people due process whenever the president says so, and where human rights are ignored, then the tragedy becomes even greater. And those who committed those horrific acts have won a great victory against America. The ACLU's mission is to ensure that American principles of justice and civil liberties are preserved no matter what hardships we face. The military commissions, the suspension of habeas corpus, warrantless wiretapping are an affront to the values of justice and due process, which are the foundation of our democracy. When the ACLU sees these values being denigrated, we take action. It remains to be seen how this Supreme Court decision will be implemented. Our interest now and our commitment is to the American values of fairness and justice that has moved us to step up at this time to fight for a process that reflects these principles. I like to think of it as preserving, protecting, and defending to the best of our ability the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you for your time.